If you've been following me for a while, you've heard me talk about the work that I do with clients and maybe some results with clients. However, I don't think I've ever really shared how the process works, and I thought some of you might be interested in hearing what happens in a session when you work with me, whether it's in person or remote. And actually, most of the work I do is remote. So the first thing is I usually have a conversation about 20 minutes and kind of you tell me what's going on, why you're actually seeking help at this time. And I go over the process and we find out if it's a good fit, if this is something that still appeals to you. Usually it does. Surprisingly enough, by the time someone comes to me, they usually are ready and something about they've seen my work and it resonates. So that's step number one is we have this conversation. So then once we decide to work together, there's all the logistical stuff about timing and payment and all that. That's pretty obvious. So the next thing I do is I send a pre-session form, which is an online form just to get more information to give the client clarity as to what it is they want to focus on, what the priority is, and actually gives me a chance to kind of make some connections even before we are having a conversation in the session. I can kind of connect some dots so I know what to focus on in our first session together. Okay, so then we usually have, if it's remote, we have a Zoom session. If it's in person, obviously we're together. And once we decide on the focus, I usually start with emotion code, and I want to see if there are any trapped emotions that are contributing to the current situation or challenge that you are in. And it's just a kind of good way to get an overall picture, and I'll show you what the chart looks like. Okay, so emotion code, here is the chart. It's probably going to be backwards, but you can still get the idea. There are 60 emotions that have been identified, and there's a column A and a column B, and there's odd and even numbered rows, and we can ask your subconscious, out of 60 emotions, which is the one that's contributing to your current situation that you're trying to overcome or transform or whatever. We don't have to test all 60. Your subconscious knows exactly which one, and because it's tapped into the field, and that's a whole other conversation about quantum physics, it tells us which one. This is really, really useful for people because it enables them to make connections they didn't make before, enables them to have clarity. Was this inherited? When did you have this emotion trapped in your body? And then we can release it in a matter of minutes. And that can instigate all kinds of positive changes. So emotion code is usually what I start with, and then I'm going to talk about body code in the next section. So if the person's having some physical issues, we will go into body code, which is similar to emotion code, only goes much, much, much deeper. And we can find out, is there an imbalance in the system that's causing this physical issue? It could be emotional, it could be energetic, it could be structural, you name it. We go down a rabbit hole, and it is one of the most incredible things ever. So that's body code. And then PSYCH-K is so near and dear to me. It's just such a sacred, beautiful process, and that's where we can find out if you have stress triggers, if there's something that you have fear about, if there's something from your past that actually causes you to almost be in a state of paralysis when you think about doing this thing again, or just the memory of it. We can transform that in a session so that you are no longer triggered. Really, really powerful. And there's another very common way I use it, which I'll tell you in a second. All right, so the other way I most commonly use PSYCH-K with clients is for limiting beliefs. And this is where, we'll ask someone, what are your beliefs about your ability to have this? What are your beliefs growing up and so forth? So once we discover this and we create new beliefs, they're called goal statements, we can first test in the subconscious and see if it's on board with this. If it tests weak, means the subconscious doesn't agree, it hasn't been programmed for this, it's going to cause some challenges in your life. Well, we can go in and actually, when I say go in, it's almost like reprogramming a computer. We can reprogram the subconscious so now this belief is true for you, which you can imagine how powerful that is. So when you're internal, meaning the subconscious, now believes something to be true for you, any action that you take externally is going to be supported. So this is a broad overview of what a session looks like. I do send a recap, so you don't have to take any notes in the session, but it can actually go way, way deeper. So that was a broad overview of what it's like to do a session with me. I hope that was helpful. Can get much, much, much deeper than this and have profound transformational benefits in a relatively short period of time. I mean, usually people work on one issue and then they decide they want to continue working on something else. So if you'd like to know more, if you'd like to schedule a session, if you'd like to find out more information about working with me, definitely leave a comment, see link in bio, wherever you're seeing this, and happy to chat.